What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to go ahead and wrap up our coverage over Empyre. Yes, you heard that right. This is going to be the last video for Empyre. And so in this video, we're going to cover Empyre number 4, 5, 6, and also Empyre Aftermath, as a way to wrap up our coverage for Empyre, but to move into new directions for both the Dawn of X era for X-Men comics, but also a new era for Marvel comics as well. And so again, this is going to be the last video for Empyre. And then I want to say possibly next week or 2 weeks, we should have a full story video dropping that covered everything we did for Empyre. So to begin today's video, we actually do pick up with Empyre number 4. Now, in the opening pages of Empyre number 4, we actually do pick up with Captain Marvel and the Human Torch. And right now you have our two heroes on the command ship of the Kree and the Skrulls. Because remember, the Kree and the Skrulls are no longer fighting against one another. And matter of fact, they're working together as a way to defeat the Cotati. Now, with all that being said though, right now with the two empires coming together as one empire, they needed a new leader, and they made Hulkling their new leader, because Hulkling is a half Kree, half Skrull person. Now, Hulkling actually grew up on Earth, but of course, with him being half Kree, half Skrulls, he was chosen to be the new leader of this new empire to fight against the Cotatis. Now, here comes the big problem though with Hulkling for the Kree and the Skrulls. Hulkling is not down to kill, meaning that he wants to win this war with no bloodshed at all. Now, here comes the big thing though. In the opening pages of Empyre number 4, you actually have Hulkling appear, and he says he's ready to be a great king, to win the war, to get rid of the Cotati. And so he does tell the Super Skrull to release the Pyre. Now, the Pyre is a very powerful weapon, and what it does is it basically sends a virus to the sun. And with the sun having this virus, it'll make the sun basically go supernova. And with it going supernova, it will wipe out all the planets around it. And so his goal is to wipe out this entire galaxy that Earth is a part of to win the war, to hopefully get rid of the Cotati. And that right there is very huge. And of course, you do have Captain Marvel and the Human Torch freak out. And the reason why, because in our last video, Hulkling declared that they will win this war with no bloodshed at all. But here he is now, down to kill an entire galaxy to just win a war. And so you do have Captain Marvel use her hammer as a way to do a body scan to make sure that this is actually Hulkling. And once her hammer tells her, yes, this is Hulkling, it is him, now you have her wondering, is Hulkling being mind controlled? But either way, you do have Captain Marvel and the Human Torch work together to fight against Hulkling and his forces. Now, this fight is very short-lived, and the reason why, because you actually have Hulkling tell one of his members of his Skrulls to use her magic to teleport Captain Marvel and the Human Torch back down to Earth. And with that being said, now he can finally release the Pyre and begin the plan to get rid of this entire galaxy. Now, that magical Skrull that teleported Captain Marvel and the Human Torch, her name was Morgan, but we saw her teleport them away back down to Earth, but she teleported them over to the apartment that belongs to Wiccan. Now remember, Wiccan is the son of the Scarlet Witch, and he's a very powerful magical user. At the same time, he is the boyfriend of Hulkling, and so there is a reason why Morgan teleported Captain Marvel and the Human Torch to this apartment to get Wiccan involved, because now you have Captain Marvel basically telling Hulkling's boyfriend Wiccan that his boyfriend Hulkling has gone crazy. And so we do jump over to Avengers Mountain. Now, the reason why we're over here in Avengers Mountain is because, one, this is the base of the Avengers, but two, we actually pick up with Tony Stark and Reed Richards. Because right now you have Reed basically telling Tony everything that is going on right now around the world. And so with that being said though, you have Reed tell Tony about what's happening in Wakanda first. Because right now you have Black Panther and his army fighting against an army of Cotatis, because right now the Cotatis are trying to get to the Great Mound. Now remember, the Great Mound is basically a special location in Wakanda, but inside the Great Mound contains vibranium, a rare metal. But remember, in our last video, Black Panther told us that when it came to vibranium, when it landed, it did affect a small portion of the ground and affected the soil. And with the soil being affected, if the Cotati are able to plant their death blossom in that soil, it could give the Cotati way more power. And what I mean is that the death blossom is basically a flower that gives Cotati magical users the ability to control magic around them. If the Cotati are able to plant the death blossom in the soil that was affected by vibranium, then they can control all plant life across the universe, basically making themselves gods and wiping out people who try to stand against them. And so right now you have Reed telling Tony they need to find a way to help out T'Challa to stop that problem right there. But then you have Reed also tell Tony about the sun, how apparently now Hulkling has activated the pyre. In a few minutes, the pyre will go off, wiping all planets in this galaxy. And so right now you have Reed trying to motivate Tony to figure out a way to win this war, to help the Avengers to win this war, to hopefully save the Earth. And so we actually do jump over to Black Panther to only show us that basically right now Black Panther and his army, they're having a hard time winning this war, because this war is getting so crazy, so wild, that for our hero and his army, there's no way he can actually win this war, because the Cotatis have so many people to throw at this one little battle that it's way too much for Black Panther and his army to actually handle. And so sooner or later, Black Panther is going to lose. And when he does lose, the Cotati will be able to get to the Great Mound and finally get what they want. Now, we actually do jump over to Quay and Swordsman. Now remember, Quay is the leader of the Cotati army that is right now trying to take over the Earth. But on top of that right there, Quay is also with his father, the Swordsman. Now you have to remember, when it comes to Quay was supposed to be this celestial messiah going around the universe, bringing peace across the universe. But here he is now doing the opposite of bringing peace to the universe. Because right now he's trying his best to get rid of the Kree, the Skrulls, but also get rid of the human race as well. That is the complete opposite of trying to bring peace into the universe. Now, with that being said, though, he is with his father, the Swordsman. Now, you have to remember, this is not the original Swordsman. The original Swordsman died a long time ago in Marvel Comics, but after he died, his body was taken over by a Cotati, because that Cotati knew that if he was able to basically have sex with Mantis and have her give birth to Quay, then he'll have the celestial messiah, because it was told a long time ago a perfect human and a Cotati will become one as a couple and give birth to a child that would bring peace to the universe. And of course, that perfect human was Mantis, and so Mantis did sleep with the Cotati Swordsman to give birth to Quay. Now, this is also the moment you have Ben Grimm, Susan Storm, and also Mantis appear. Now, Mantis is coming here to hopefully convince her son that what he is doing is wrong, that what he's doing could kill innocent people. But that is the moment you have Quay say, Mom, I have not gone crazy. What I'm doing is not wrong. What I'm doing is right. Because look at the Kree. Look at the Skrulls. Look at humans. They're not a peaceful race. These races are not peaceful. They're always bringing war to one another over and over and over again. If I want to actually bring peace to this universe, I must wipe out the races that are basically the problem in the universe, the ones that keep bringing war over and over into this universe. And so that is Quay's reason why he should wipe out the Kree, why he should wipe out the Skrulls, why he should wipe out the human race as well. But this is the moment we come to find out that She-Hulk is actually being controlled by Quay and the Cotatis. And when I say that She-Hulk is being controlled, I really mean more of that She-Hulk's dead body is being controlled. What I mean is that right after the Avengers arrived on the moon at the very beginning of Empyre, apparently off-panel, She-Hulk was killed off because the Cotatis realized how powerful She-Hulk was. And so they killed her off because Cotatis do have the ability to take over dead bodies. My prime example is Cotati's Swordsman. Swordsman died, but a Cotati took over his body. And so with that being said, you had another Cotati take over the body of She-Hulk. And because She-Hulk is so powerful, right now, Ben Grimm, Mantis, and Susan Storm, they must fight against a She-Hulk dead body that's been taken over by Cotati and hopefully win against it. Now, we actually do jump over to the apartment of Wiccan, because remember, Captain Marvel and the Human Torch, they were teleported over there. But with them being teleported over there, they were confronted by Wiccan, and you had Captain Marvel tell Wiccan everything that is going on right now with Hulkling. Because remember, Hulkling and Wiccan, they're dating. But here comes the big thing though. You have Wiccan tell Captain Marvel and the Human Torch the Hulkling they saw at the very beginning of this video was not the Hulkling that he is with. That is somebody else. But he can tell that his Hulkling is alive, but his Hulkling is locked up somewhere else. Now here comes the big shocker that Marvel gave us in this book, which is that Wiccan apparently had married Hulkling. They're no longer dating, they're married. And so with them being married, they have some kind of connection to one another that Wiccan can tell if Hulkling is okay or not. But getting into Empyre number 5, the opening pages are just really the wedding of Wiccan and Hulkling. Because remember, apparently they got married, and Marvel wanted to show us the wedding of Hulkling and Wiccan in the opening pages of Empyre number 5. Now, to be honest, the wedding really doesn't do anything for the storyline at all. It's nice to see, but when it comes to the overall storyline, nothing really important comes out of it. Instead, the only thing you can say that comes out of it is more of Wiccan saying that because he got married to Hulkling, they have a connection both in magical, but also because they're married as well. And that is the only reason why I can see why Marvel kind of put the wedding of Wiccan and Hulkling in this book right here. Besides that, we move on with the storyline. But getting back over to the She-Hulk problem, we do see that She-Hulk is right now beating the living you-know-what out of the Thing. Like, Ben Grimm is trying his best not to fight against She-Hulk because She-Hulk used to be part of the Fantastic Four, I want to say back in the 80s and even the 90s for a tad bit as well. And so when he looks at She-Hulk, he looks at her as a family member. But Ben Grimm has to realize this is not She-Hulk. Yes, it is her body, but her dead body is being used by a Cotati. And so Ben Grimm has to realize if you want to save your friend, well, you have to go ahead and get rid of her body. You have to fight back against the dead She-Hulk body that's being used by a Cotati. But either way, they do continue to fight against one another. But then we jump back over to Wakanda because remember, right now, there is a big battle happening between Black Panther and Wakanda against the Cotati. Now, we do see Quay and Swordsman arrive at the battle to help the Cotati win the battle against Black Panther. But remember, right now, the Cotati are trying their best to actually reach the Great Mound. Because once they're inside the Great Mound, they'll be able to actually plant their Death Blossom in there, and that will give them the ability to control all plant life across the universe. But with that being said though, Black Panther and his army of Wakandians, I hope I said that part correctly, are trying their best to defend their country against the Cotati. But with Swordsman there and Quay being there as well, the forces of the Cotati is too much for Black Panther and his army, to the point where you actually have the Cotati do something very similar to what the X-Men are doing right now in X-Men comics. See, in X-Men comics, the X-Men have the ability to use Krakoan gates as a way to be teleported over to any location around the universe. And so when they walk through that gate, they can walk to almost any part of the universe as long as there is another gate on the other end. And so what the Cotati did was they were able to have two gates, one in Wakanda, and that gate will lead them right into the Great Mound. And so now the Cotati do have an access way into the Great Mound to plant the Death Blossom. But right before Black Panther is actually able to stop them, he is stabbed by Swordsman. And we are left to believe that Black Panther is now dead, which is huge to say. But then we have to jump back in space. And the reason why, because remember, Wiccan, Captain Marvel, and the Human Torch, they know the real Hulkling is alive. The real Hulkling's being held somewhere else. And so the Hulkling we saw at the very beginning of this video is not the one Wiccan married. And so when we actually pick up with Wiccan, Captain Marvel, and the Human Torch, they do teleport back onto the command ship that belonged to the Kree in the Skrulls, where of course you have Wiccan reveal that he has the real Hulkling, that apparently whoever is this fake Hulkling, they were able to lock the real one up and to keep him locked up and unable to use his powers. But right now, you're going to have a big battle between the fake Hulkling and his forces against the heroes we have right now, which is Wiccan, the Human Torch, Captain Marvel, and the real Hulkling. And so with all these different things going on across the Earth, the moon, and in space, right now it does look like maybe the Cotati are going to win. And there's a possibility that the Skrulls could be able to use their weapon that could wipe out the entire galaxy. And so right now, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, their hands are full of all these different problems across the world, the moon, and also in space, especially with Black Panther now dying. And now the Cotati have access to the Great Mound. It does seem like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four are about to lose. But we do actually jump over to Tony Stark and Reed Richards. And the reason why, because they're giving us a time frame. In 9 minutes, the sun is going to explode. And when it does, every single planet around it is going to die with it. On top of that, in 9 minutes, the Cotati Death Blossom will be fully grown and Quay will be a god to be able to control all plant life across the universe. It's all hands on deck. And it seems like in 9 minutes, everything is going to fall apart for our heroes. And so when we actually jump into Empire number 6, we actually do continue the idea of Reed Richards basically talking to Tony Stark about the different problems they have right now when it comes to the Cotati and how the Earth could possibly be wiped out or the universe could be taken over. And so right now you have Reed kind of freaking out because to Reed, it seems like Tony is not really trying to save the Earth. Instead, Tony's just making a brand new suit for no good reason. But you have Tony tell Reed, do not worry, because my new suit is going to help you when you put it on to go deal with the problems in Wakanda. And so take my new suit, go to Wakanda, and stop the Cotati from planting their Death Blossom or using the Death Blossom on the entire universe. I'll handle the sun problem, but go ahead and leave. Everything is going to be okay, because this is the moment you basically have Tony Stark be Tony Stark once again. Because remember, in our last video, Tony Stark, he was kind of depressed because he believed the Cotati for being good guys to only be tricked by them, to be used by them. And so he felt really bad because he feels like it is his fault the Earth is in this position. But now you have him kind of like, okay, you know what? I am no longer depressed. I have plans. You go to Wakanda and I'll handle the sun problem. Let's go. Now, we do get a couple pages that do remind us about the Fantastic Four tie-ins. Now, those tie-ins are actually not that important for the overall storyline of Empyre, but in reality, it's just Marvel reminding us that there were tie-ins from the Fantastic Four series, and in those tie-ins, we actually saw Franklin and Valeria Richards being able to form another Fantastic Four team alongside with Wolverine and Spider-Man, because they had to deal with a different Cotati problem. But like I said, those tie-ins are actually not that important for the overall storyline of Empyre. Now, we actually do jump over to Captain Marvel, Wiccan, the Human Torch, and Hulkling as they're on the command ship of the Kree in the Skrulls. Now, the reason why they're on the command ship is because, remember, Hulkling was replaced by someone who's pretending to be him, and right now they have to fight against a fake Hulkling. But then you have Hulkling tell Wiccan, Captain Marvel, and the Human Torch to deal with another problem, the Pyre. Because remember, the Pyre is basically some kind of device, some kind of weapon the Skrulls have made that can blow up the sun, and with the sun exploding, it's going to kill other planets around the sun. And so with that being said, you have Hulkling say he'll stay behind and deal with the fake Hulkling, while the rest of the heroes try to stop the sun from exploding. And so you do have Wiccan being able to teleport them over to the sun. Now here comes their master plan. You're going to have the Human Torch basically use his powers as a way to absorb any kind of energy the sun puts out. But at the same time, Captain Marvel is going to absorb the energy of the Pyre to hopefully stop it from making the sun explode. And so this is their master plan to hopefully save their galaxy from being destroyed. Now, we do actually jump over to She-Hulk, because remember, right now, She-Hulk is being controlled by Cotati. And when I say she's being controlled, I mean that her dead body is being controlled. But with that being said, though, this is the moment you have Marvel actually use the Green Door as a way to bring She-Hulk back to life to basically take back over her body. So the Green Door was a way for Marvel to introduce another part of hell. And this part of hell is where basically characters who were given their powers thanks to gamma radiation, but when they died, they would use the Green Door and go to that part of hell. But at the same time, they can use the Green Door to leave that part of hell to come back to life. And so right now you have She-Hulk using the Green Door as a way to come back to life, but as a way to take over her body again, getting rid of the Cotati that was in her body. So She-Hulk is alive again and well. But then we jump back over to Wakanda, and when we do, we actually do pick up with Black Panther coming back to life. Actually, he never died. Apparently, he faked his death. And honestly, if I tell you how he faked his death, you would not believe me at all. But either way, though, you do have Quay remind Black Panther that they were able to actually plant the Death Blossom. But with the Death Blossom being planted, that means that now Quay will be able to control all plant life across the universe. And that right there is very huge. But when Quay tries to use that power, it doesn't work. And the reason why, because you have Reed Richards appear in his new Iron Man suit. And apparently in the Iron Man suit, Tony was able to make some kind of sonic frequency that basically blocks Quay from using the Death Blossom powers. And so with that being said, Quay cannot become a god. He cannot control plant life across the universe. Now you do have Quay say that he is going to try his best to actually kill off both Reed and Black Panther, but that is the moment you have Steve Rogers appear. And when Steve Rogers shows up, Steve basically tells Quay, look what I brought. I brought the entire Avengers roster, and they're here to give you one of the worst beatdowns of your life. So if I was you, I'll go ahead and give up right now to see another day. Now, you do have Tony Stark finding a way to stop the pyre from actually activating. And so, with that being said, the day is actually saved in space as well. Now, if you're wondering how in the world Tony Stark did that, well, he was able to kind of cancel out the machine's ability to make the sun go supernova. And so, with it being canceled out, the sun will no longer go supernova. And that, of course, saves the galaxy from being destroyed. And so, Iron Man was able to save the day when it came to the sun exploding. But getting back over to the command ship of the Kree and the Skrulls, we do have Hulkling fight against the fake Hulkling. Now, while they're fighting against one another, that is the moment you have Hulkling find out the fake Hulkling is actually his grandmother. Because remember, his grandmother was revealed to us at the end of our last video. We found out that she never died along with her daughter back when Galactus had destroyed their home world. And so with that being said, she was alive this whole time and has been plotting to actually take over her grandson's spot, pretend to be him, and actually lead the Skrulls and the Kree as one empire. But sooner or later have the Skrulls be the one in charge over the Kree. And so with that being said, you do have Hulkling fight against his grandmother. But because his grandmother hit him first, she basically took his mask off that she gave him, the mask that canceled out his powers. And so with that mask being off, Hulkling powers are once again activated. He was able to grab the mask and put it on his grandmother, which of course now cancels out her powers. And so Hulkling was able to defeat his grandma very easily. Now, we actually do jump back down to Earth, where we actually do see the Avengers fighting against the Cotati. Now, this battle, it does go on for a good few pages. The Avengers and the Cotatis, they go back and forth, and we are left to believe that there is a possibility the Avengers could possibly lose. But with the Avengers so motivated to protect their Earth, so motivated to save the innocent people of Earth, they were able to actually defeat the Cotati. Now, you would think the Cotati would just go ahead and leave because right now they're losing the war. The war is about to be over and there's no way the Cotati could possibly win. But that is the moment we actually see Swordsman take things to the next level. Because we see Swordsman actually take his own son as a hostage. Because remember, Cotati Swordsman was the one who convinced his son to go to war. He convinced his son that this was the only way to bring peace into the entire universe. You must wipe out the Kree and the Skrulls and the humans, and then move on to other races that could possibly try to stop us down the road. It was Swordsman who wanted this war, and right now he's basically telling the Avengers if they move closer to him, he will kill his own son, which is even crazier to see happen right now in this book. Now, you do have Black Panther actually walk up to Swordsman, and when Black Panther does that, you have Black Panther tell Swordsman that he is not the original Swordsman. Remember, the original Swordsman was an Avenger, but he died. But right after he died, his dead body was being used by a Cotati, the one we see right now. But you have Black Panther say, the Swordsman the Avengers remembered, when he died, his soul moved on to the afterlife. You may took over his dead body, but you did not gain his personality, the person he was. You never gained that. You may look like him, but you're not him. And so with that being said, you have Black Panther able to free Quay from Swordsman, and then Black Panther actually stabs Swordsman right in the chest to kill him off, to say, you were never one of us. You were never an Avenger. You were never a human. You just took a body to use it to basically give yourself a son, and that is it. And so Black Panther killed off Swordsman and the Death Blossom to save the day. Now, of course, you would think that Quay would change his ways because now with his father dead, the Avengers winning, and the Avengers trying to show Quay the good in the human race and the good in the Kree and the Skrulls, you would think Quay would change his mind and actually become a good guy. But that is the moment you have Quay tell his mother Mantis that he'll never change, that he believed what his father said was true, that humans, the Kree, the Skrulls, and other races out there in the universe, they must die. That Quay must be the one to basically take over the universe because that is only when the universe will be safe. And then Quay is taken away to prison. Now, with that being said, though, you do have the Invisible Woman tell her husband that she is worried about the idea of the Kree and the Skrulls now working together. But then you have Black Panther R. Reed Richards ensure her that the Kree and the Skrulls could be going in a better direction now because who is their emperor? And their emperor is, of course, Hulkling. And that is the end of the Empyre event. Now, I could cover Empyre Aftermath, but after recording this video, I realized that Empyre Aftermath is not that important that we need to cover for right now. But I may cover it in a different video down the road. But with that being said, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.